Hey everybody, Hex here, doing a live draft commentary. Hex TCG MMO. This commentary I'm going to try to focus on the new player experience. Those of you new to draft, trying to figure things out. Maybe you want to, doing the free to play, and you want to finally buy some packs, and you want to give it a shot. So we're going to talk a little bit about fundamentals. Typically, like the first pack, you're thinking, what's the best card in the pack? You don't really know it's open. You don't really know it's been passed. So it's really just kind of shooting in the dark, picking the best card. Oftentimes you'll build a deck around that card, but if the shard distribution isn't open, then you won't. Honestly, this is a pretty bad pack. So I'm going to kind of like do a bit of a cardinal sin and picking a first pick a card that has dual shards in it. The reason I don't want to do that is because obviously it's going to be harder to cast. But this pack is so bad, I just want to pick what I think is the best card in the pack and kind of see what happens. This rare is a sideboard card, maybe. But yeah, just not enough to justify making it in the deck. I'm going to go with the Tempestuous Blade Dancer, solid card, and the ramp archetype. This is pretty interesting. The rare is missing, so probably either the person to our right disconnected or they picked what looks like a common over the rare. This card's really great. Personally, it's a great aggro card. Gives you a lot of flexibility in ramp, Ruby ramp. We could pair it with the soup and give everything dust touch. So if you give that ability where it does pings 1 damage to everything, which we'll see, it's either Manticore Wings or Phoenix, one of those. You can clear somebody's board. It's totally sweet. So anyway, it's also worth like 60 plat. So it's in the shard pile we're thinking about maybe going. Ruby Wild Ramp. This card's pretty good too. A little slow. And if you Prophecy, which means you give the next troop in your deck that ability, it could get milled out and be kind of bad. This would be a nice support card too. In ramp. In ramp, you also mainly just want mana acceleration and then big things. Mana accelerator, is like cards that you exhaust it, it gives you 1 resource, or it gives you 1 resource every turn, or when you play it, if you have an elf on the board, you get a resource. You get the idea. This is a very strong pack. This is pretty much a strong enough card to go into Sapphire 4. Has a lot of value, and that it's a 2/4 flyer for 4, which is a great rate, and you typically can get an action out of your crypt for it, which is pretty sweet. Also, Pride's Fall is a very good removal. Has a lot of targets in the set. This is a good build around for a lot of different strategies, especially sack spirits. This is, again, the mana acceleration that we're talking about. We already have 1 elf in our deck, so chances are we'll get the elf allegiance. But it's a little too, pick 3, still want to get your high value cards, and high value cards tend to be removal. Skewer is a very good card. Dealing 3 for 3 is a great rate. And then also that clause of doing the additional 3 damage if the creature has 1 toughness. Happens quite a bit. So often you'll use this as a finisher in a lot of games. I'm pretty happy with that pickup. Here we have another pretty difficult pick now. Lift Lyricist is what we want, because we want to cast giant things before our opponent can. We want to outdevelop our opponent. We do that through things like this. Gain an additional resource point every turn. This is a great flexible card. It's a troop. You can give some evasive thing an ability to increase its attack power, or it itself is a threat. We talked about this card comboing with one of Highland Black Belt's abilities. This is a great trick, especially in 5-drop Matters decks, which is part of sub-theme of ramp, and that you get that additional +3/+3. All really solid picks. Kind of circling around. Well, my actual pick, though, is going to be Fire Indignation. Doing 2 damage for 2 is very good, but also getting the claws of it, doing an additional 3 if you have a 5-drop. We're going to have 5-drops in this archetype. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the removal. If these shard types are open, we'll get all the removal we can eat. I doubt that's going to happen, though. But typically, you want to removal is something to prioritize. Again, I would love to have this card, as it's a great finisher, Smash to the Ground. Just being able to make a custom tailored trick. You can make it as big as you possibly want. Finishes the game, put it on something with Crush. like Tempestuous Blade Master, and all of a sudden you're doing like 14 points of damage and you're winning the game. Want to have one or two of these in your deck, as this color combo tends to be weak against flyers. Also, it has vigilance, makes it pretty nice, and it's really hard to deal with 5 toughness. I think though I'm gonna keep on the removal train. I may regret this, but pretty much you can't go wrong with picking having a bunch of removal in your deck. Um, Also, we saw some spirit cards being passed, so it looks like Ruby's pretty open on our right, and Wild is relatively open. It's hard to tell. Well, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks in, so we could start to make some judgments about what's open and what's not open. There's a pretty bad pack. This guy here is really fun in OVO because you take a charge of your opponent's thing and then you revert it back and you gain control of their card permanently. This is a little too wonky as a 7-drop ramp target. Just not enough power and toughness for my liking. This isn't playable, obviously. It really isn't a clear pick for us. We could take a Filk Ape and maybe just have something in the sideboard in case we have a lot of our opponents augmenting their troops a lot to get that basic one-shot revert another target troop ability. A sideboard is cards you bring in game 2 to try to adapt to your opponent's deck. It's not a main drop. This does the same thing and it's cheaper. Oh, yeah, but the other one would have helped me with 5-drop matters. So anyway, bit of a mistake. Not very consequential, as neither one of those cards were really that great. This, on the other hand, is a 3/3 for 4. The Prophecy +2/+2. It's exactly what you want to do. You want to have a 3 power and 3 toughness on turn 4 to try to maintain control of the board. And making your stuff bigger than your opponent's stuff is pretty much what this color combo does. This is a great pick. We don't have to be in Wild. It just should be noted. It's just they're the combo that most supports each other. That's relatively open right now. You could also go Ruby, Diamond, Aggro, but I kind of want to stick with. I want to play my Blade Master, and this is a fine pick, especially 5 picks in. So feeling pretty good. We'll see what wheels too. Pass some really powerful stuff. You can see I don't see any of the mana dorks, the mana accelerant, kind of like elf cards, which would help us get to our one of our win cons, which is like the 7/7 dinosaur for 7, playing Might Singler as the champion. So we're not, we got a little competition here, but smash it on, good top end, 5/5 crush, doing everything you want to do. Also turns on fiery indignation, wears +2/+2 quite well. The crush, it's a good finisher. Nice card. It's a pretty dead pack. There's normally not room, and if you have to play a lunge, your deck's probably not that great. It's decent, but it doesn't help you protect a creature at all. It just buffs, just helps you win combat sometimes. And yeah, it is quick action, so it's a fine trick fundamentally, but we're gonna pick it just in case we play it. I don't really want to hate creepy conspirators, especially because this deck isn't going to be augmenting. It's just going to try to play big dumb things and break through board stalls. This is an interesting pick. I like that this has some elf strategies, and it can get bigger, and it has crush. Arguably better than Caribou Healer, but there's a lot of games where 4 health is pretty important. This card's good in a Swift Strike kind of OVO, or the champion that gets +1/+1. And Swift Strike if you have more troops than your opponent. Other than that, it's pretty much a wonky card, because it just asks for you to be 2 for 1. You put it on something, and then your opponent removes it. That's 2 cards you invested, and he only had the best one, so he then gains card advantage. But you hear people say 2 for 1 all the time. I'm going to go with the Emberleaf, just because the elf sub-theme, will probably present itself. This is a great spider utility troop. Would love to hate it. Saying this is a good spider support card, or like all-in mill strategy, which it is out there occasionally. But this card may make it. Who knows? It's a 5-drop, and it's pretty good in the mirror, in that we kind of, it's not great in the mirror. I'd rather just have removal, but there's not a whole lot of ways for this deck to deal with 7/7s, so it kind of gets a little crazy in the mirror. Again, I would like a Stinkhorn Soup to combo with Highlands Black Belt, but most games, just having a Stern Iteration is going to do it. And it's a 5-drop Miners card. It gets better with the more 5-drops you have. That's what this deck is trying to do. Good sideboard card, especially against Spirits or something like that. But cool. So our interactive cards, we have a pretty good set. We have 3 removal, whatever we choose from this, and a Stern Iteration. So we're feeling pretty good as far as being able to interact with our opponent's stuff. So now we're just thinking more mana acceleration and big threats. Cards I want to hate out of this pack. It's probably the most annoying for this deck. Taps your troops when your opponent gets spiders. He'll take the Felcape as a sideboard card. Cards we would have wanted to wheel didn't. Just totally natural. Somebody's in probably Ruby or definitely Wild to our left. I'll hate that card. Can be annoying. I'll hate that card. It's occasionally good. If someone's all in on spiders. And it's 4 power. Trades a lot of our stuff, potentially. We're hating because we didn't have anything we could pick for our deck. This card's worth a couple bucks. Is it worth a splash? Not really. We're just looking for troops. Deathmaster Silence is good. It's a fine 2-drop on its own. It will get through in some matchups first few turns. Also, shifting that ability onto Smashdon or an Emberleaf or 7/7 Dinosaur. All super powerful stuff. It's a must deal with for your opponent. Oftentimes it just wins the game. Still leaves a troop behind too. All for the low price of 2 resources. Not quite at first, pick pack 2, pick 1 card, but we're not really complaining. Be happy with a Relic 2, probably with Unblockable. Though it may not make the deck, whereas this card will make the deck, because it serves the synergistic purpose of just winning with big things late. Feeling pretty good with our removal suite right now. We do need a little more help on troops. Being able to socket this with a minor ability and get the +1/+1 is super important. It's probably going to be unblockable or hex proof. Really depends on the matchup. Sometimes you'll give it the do damage when it enters the play in game 1, just because you don't quite know if you're going to be matched up against your Shard Pie or not, and thus it be blockable. But honestly, at the end of the day, a 4/5, that can be blocked is still pretty good. So, and then there's another Stinkhorn. This will probably wheel. Fire Ignition, we love to have. I mean, seriously, we could play 4 in a deck. I just thinking more about troops right now. I don't know. Maybe some of you disagree with that pick. I think we're gonna get enough removal this draft. In fact, I already feel like we're pretty close. I want to play 15, 16 troops, ideally. So this is an interesting pack. This card's a great sideboard card. That's a great card to hate. Not that we're gonna do it, but it's very powerful. Shift ability, key utility card for spiders. So as far as a real tip, I'm building my deck as I go. I'm thinking about what my deck's trying to do, what this archetype's trying to do, and cards that support that strategy. Basically, Ramp wants to outdevelop your opponent and break board stalls and win the game with a ton of big, huge, giant swings. The card that does that exceptionally is Staggering Blast. Deal 1 damage to each opposing troop without flight, which is most troops. Damage troop this can't block this turn. So you build your board of all this stuff. Your opponent responds, thinks he stabilizes, and then you play a Staggering Blast and you swing for a bunch of damage. Maybe even kill some troops in the process. Pretty powerful card. Now, do we want to smash it on, or do we want more removal? I feel like our removal is pretty good, and we don't have a whole lot of. If we had to plane with fire, we may think about going Predatory Prey just because it's a 5-drop, but we don't. I'm feeling like we can't go too wrong with another smash it on, though we may regret it. But I feel like we're still in the need more troops. What we really need is mana or resource acceleration. We don't have it right now. We just have a bunch of expensive troops and a couple 2-drops that don't want to be traded off early in the game. So we really don't have any early game. So we're thinking we're going to prioritize Lyricist and, the 2/3 elf that gives you a wild shard if you have elves in your hand or at play. The Allegiance card. So So we're thinking, look, so here's an example of normally Skewer would be the pick, right? Because Skewer is amazing, but we really need uh, to start thinking about our curve and our overall strategy of um, having more resources than our opponents so we can play these big giant threats early. Ramp, as it's called. Want to ramp out your threats. So, not the ideal decision. You got to do what you got to do. Because the last thing you want to do is be stuck pack 3 with a bunch of 6 drops and no way to cast them early. A lot of people like this card. I'm not a huge fan just because it requires um, you to pause in your development phase in order to have him be even a relevant threat. What I mean in pause in your development, it means you have to spend your resources into this instead of developing. It is a good resource sink late game in that you get a threat for an investment of 1 resource. And oftentimes your opponent doesn't block it because it's threat of activation. They know it can get big. So, and they don't want to trade. So I'll pick it. Tree Guard's a fine troop, but I just don't think it's going to make the deck. So I'll take another Smashadon. 3 is probably the max, but that's also in a pretty ramp heavy deck, which we're not right now. We have 1 card that doesn't necessarily even ramp, it just ensures that we are hitting our resource drops. But that card doesn't even necessarily have a whole lot of allegiance targets. We only have 2 elves. So we're going to need Lift Lyricist, or the uncommon elves that help you ramp. See if that happens. It looks like somebody's gobbling them up or hating them. They're not common. I don't want any more Smashadons. This is a good sideboard card, especially in aggro. Against aggro. Because they do a bunch of damage early, because your deck is slower than theirs, but then you basically undo their work with a +4 health gain. So this is interesting. We're moving along. We're building our deck. We're thinking about our strategy. We know what we need. If we get a really good pack 3, I'm going to regret passing that Skewer. Skewer is a pretty amazing card. They are pretty heavy on spells. This card's kind of an interesting idea. It's kind of more of an aggro card. It's clunky in that it's at basic speed, so you telegraph it to your opponent. It's like they know whether or not you're going to use it or not. This card may never make the deck. We may play it though because we do have a Staggering Blast. That is a lot of power for 3 resources. Dies to everything, but I think it's better than a second Twisted Taunter, which we're probably not even going to play one of. I'd like to hate this card, but there may be games where, our best option is to try to go Highlands into Stinkhorn Soup. Playing 2 of these, I mean, I'll probably get an opportunity for a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, or 6th. It's not a very popular card for good reason. So it will, as expected. It's good to know at least have that combo. Just hard to rely upon. And consistency is pretty much the benchmark of successful drafting. Nullabrin Tree Guard. It may be better than a Boomsmith in that our only mana fixing needs Elf Allegiance. Also, we don't have any 4s. Typically, your 4s aren't as important in ramp because you're bypassing it the 4th resource turn with your ramp. So I don't know. I think this card is going to see more action. Here, if we're going to pick between with the hate draft, between a Vampiric Kiss and a Pride's Fall hits way more of our stuff. So we'll hate that. No problem. Getting a little worried about our so definitely somebody's in ramp to our left. It's pretty open on our right. We got a good amount of removal. I'm actually going to take this card in case someone's playing Psychic Torment. Pretty much the only answer to Psychic Torment. That's the card that whenever you do damage, you get to mill one. And spiders, it's just insanely good, especially if they have an Aramite down. Card doesn't do much. Card doesn't. Well, I guess this is potentially better. Kill something and they get it back. Feel kind of silly. So things definitely slowed down. Despite our pack one picking nothing but Ruby and wild cards, our opponents to our left are definitely in Ruby wild, as evidenced by not getting anything pack two really that exciting. So yeah, just cruising. We need ramp. We need ramp. All right, good. I'm glad there wasn't any ramp in this pack because I really want to pick Druidic Exoshaper. It's a 5/5 the next turn. You play it guaranteed because it has 4 cost. But if you have 5, 6, 7 drops, it just gets bigger and bigger. And it has a cool mana sync ability of being able to buff something in your hand at the cost of, making it cost more to cast, which typically isn't a huge issue in ramp. So it's nice. It also gives us something to do on 4, which is probably going to be more important in this deck because we're not getting all the ramp cards. The actual rampers. We're getting the top end ramp cards. And we're getting the 5-drop matters cards. But we're not getting the acceleration, which we're going to prioritize right now. Which means we're probably going to regret passing that skewer. I would love to have 2 fiery dignations and 2 skewers. So we did get the bombsmith. Right now, Merry Minstrels isn't going to be that consistent. It's kind of an issue. We're not playing a lot of elves. And 2 3 for 3 is just too underwhelming for Hex. It's like, okay, in Magic, but Hex, there's a lot more going on. Cool. So Shark, I don't play. I've seen it put to good use by some people. It's just too inconsistent. This deck's going to be generating a ton of resources. Not being able to guarantee that you can spend those is kind of a thing. It's be good. Oops. My mouse died in Memento. Also, Scorch is, worth kind of a constructed card. Not really, just does not really worth a card. Seen lots of Vampire Kisses. There's definitely a semi-decent sack deck floating around. But Lift Lyricist is exactly what we need, so we're going to pick it and be quite happy about it. We'd take 2 if the option presented itself. We'd take 3 if the option presented itself. This is a pretty meh deck. I guess the Emberleaf is an elf, and it's a 2-drop. We may just need that more than... we just need it at the end of the day. Pretty much have all the Smashadons we need. Stern Oration playing in doubles isn't a horrible idea. It's a lot better card than Emberleaf in most games. So that may be the pick here. It may just be like 14 troops, a bunch of with a bunch of interactive cards. So we're not going to be as ramp heavy, so I'm kind of more willing to play the Neblin. I'll probably only play 2 Smashadons. So it makes me a little sad. But we have stuff to do. So by stuff to do, I mean, even if we just don't ramp, we have lots of interactive cards. And that, Stern Oration, Bombsmith, our removal, making things unblockable, making things bigger, getting health. So even in a non-ramped progression, I think we'll do okay. And Evelyn does help with consistency. It's a very decent card on 4. So it's a tough pick. Most games, Fire Indignation is going to be better. Predatory Prey, kind of want 1, just in case we come up with a mirror and we have to kill something that's over 5 costed. I would love to have 2 Night Sky Stargazers, but here I'm going to err on the side of removal. So we get a 5 out. We have Indignations. We kind of take control of the game. I don't think we're going to get the ramp. We didn't see a whole lot of it. pack 1 and see any pack 2. Them's just kind of the breaks. I guess maybe we play 2 tree guards and just kind of win with tricks and troops. This will act as the finisher. We probably play this more as a sideboard card. Want to play more 4s and 5s now because we're not really guaranteed to get 5 resources in 3 or 4 turns. So yeah, a couple tree guards are fine. Curve's okay. Is there anything we're clearly not playing? I don't know. I know I'm just having trouble playing Predatory Prey. I'd much rather just play Stargazers. I'm gonna regret not having one, but I have a lot of respect for Night Sky. And the fact that we have 3 fiery Ignitions, I just don't really want to run it unless we're in a mirror match. It's just too slow. There's a good chance that it wheels too. Maybe we play Lullaby on the sideboard. How are we doing on early cards? I'm entertaining picking the Redford just for a curve so that we don't, die to aggro. But we're fine. We're going to pass Fiery Ignition to kill a 2-drop instead of trade with 1. Minstrels are probably going to play because now we got Morels. So what do we do here? Probably have all the Stir Narrations while we play. So maybe we'll pick Lullaby. There's a chance we may need it. It's a little disappointing. Maybe we'll bring in Snaring Ambusher in case we play aggro. It might be nice to have. So I got a little competition at the end of the day, but our deck isn't bad. It's a good illustration of how to draft ramp, what ramp's looking for. We didn't get the perfect ramp deck, but I think I made it clear on what ramp's looking for, and the process of building a deck as you pick cards. I don't want 4. I'm gonna pick this. You're gonna laugh at me, but I think it's selling for like 30 cents, 20 cents. Just I know I'm not gonna play 3. And I just like to have them for my collection. Especially in Constructed, I really like the Sun Soul Phoenix deck that takes advantage of Scorch quite heavily. So that's fun. Yeah, we really got cut pretty hard, huh? It's gonna be interesting to see what our opponents are playing. If you have any questions or you want to see more or something different, please leave comments or like or dislike or subscribe or unsubscribe. Just interact with the channel. It helps me figure out how to, help you. So if you're enjoying the video or you absolutely hate it, interact in some way. I really appreciate it. Volley of Arrows, probably not going to play. Creepy Conspirators, we're not augmenting anything. Tireless Researcher can be good sometimes. What's the most relevant threat? Probably, well, what might we play in case we have to... I was going to say in case we have to deal with something big, but chances are we're not going to have like 7 troops out. Whatever, I'll pick it anyway. This card's kind of gross. This card may be good. Probably not going to have room for it. Again. So I'll just hate the thing that might blow us out of the water. Just cry about it, man. Especially like an aggro or spirits deck, it's top end, and all your weenies like +2/+2, pretty fierce. All right, so we'll got a pretty good sideboard plan. We didn't get any. We didn't really have like an opportunity to pick up any of the flight 8 cards. Vandalize. We already have 1 anti-constant artifact. There's not a lot of artifacts in this set. I don't know. I've never played Grosvenor Tears. Well, I guess we can play 4 if our heart desires. Which we might. I would have liked to have more Staggering Blast. If I was just going to go all in troops, I'm going to win with Staggering Blast. I'd play 3 or 4 tree cards, but it ain't in the cards. So we'll build this deck from turn 1 up. Try to illustrate how why we're putting what and what we expect it to do when. Kind of a good way to learn. We'll sort by cost. I'm going to go down to one resource or one slot. I don't know if I'm going to play this. We're not going to be generating a ton of resources quick, so we're not going to need a resource sink, which basically a resource sink is when you have an abundance of resources because you're playing a ramp deck that generates a ton of resources. You know, them just sitting there doing nothing is kind of bad, so this has an opportunity to use your 7, 8, 10 resources to put it into this thing, and all of a sudden it's a threat. And what makes this kind of broken is that it only costs 1 to begin with, so kind of an interesting card. But this is a sideboard card. Probably going to bring it in, probably in the mirror as our one way of dealing with 7/7s. But obviously this is going to play, to give something unblockable. It's really good in a deck that plays big giant things. 3 Fiery Indignation, self-explanatory. 2 for 2 is fine. We already talked about why this card's good, so I'll move on. Probably the best 2-drop in the set. And it gives you versatility. And it's a 2 for 2, which is fun. Or it's a 2 for 1. You get 2 different actions for 1 card. Lift Lyricist, obviously, we wanted more. We didn't get them. Probably, I'm going to wait off and see what our troop count is before I decide how many tricks. You don't want to play too many tricks. Like maybe 1 to every 14 troops. If you get like 16 troops, maybe you could play 2. Some people feel a little different, but tricks obviously don't do anything unless you have troops, so you don't want to be drawing all tricks when you need troops. Would have liked to have 2 or 3 more skewers, though. Our troop count would be pretty bad at that point. I'm going to play the Merry Minstrels because we're playing the 7-drop champion. You'll see it here in a minute. And I think we're going to have enough elves for it to be somewhat good. We're going to say maybe on this, and that a 2-1 for 4 isn't a good deal, but that doing 2 damage is pretty good. You can't, obviously it has a setup cost. It's not always going to be good when you need it to be good. So you're just kind of left with a 2-powered troop for 4. That's why Fire Ignition's good, is that, it does its 2 for 2 thing, but then it can get bigger. It has upside as the game develops. Definitely playing a Staggering Blast. Definitely playing a Druidic Exo Shaper. I'm going to go ahead and say we're probably playing at least 1 Tree Guard. Definitely playing 2 Nightly. Tree Guards might go up in value because we do have these guys. Every vanilla troop goes up in value when the more Stargazers you have. Just having troops is a good thing. Elf, Crush, good. Okay, so these guys are pretty clear. So we're going to start with just 1 Smash It On. Let's see what's going on here. Key Finisher. Socket ability. What are we going to do? I like to make them fly, but that's not possible. Let's just start them off with, what we're going to do? The best probably, don't know what our matchup is yet, is just to give him the +1/+1. Because he's then a 5/6 for 5. That's pretty good. Okay. Anything else? I don't see anything else. So what's our troop count up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Let's get some more troops in here. We did get a little cut, so we don't have a huge pool of troops. I don't know if I want to play you yet. Bring you in for aggro for sure. If we could play 1 Oration, pretty comfortably play 1 no matter what. Probably play another Tree Guard. So that's 14 troops. I always want to play 18 resources when playing pretty much wild anything so far. Skewer is a double resource cost. It's only probably going to go like 9/9 just to be safe, but we could probably get away with 10/8, 10 wild, 8. But anytime you're playing like multiple 5-drops and at 6, you want to play 18 resources. I think so anyway. Play a Caribou. Play another Smash-It-On. Let's see what's going on here. So see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-drops. 4 4-drops, or 5 4-drops. 1, 2 3-drops, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2-drops. So that's pretty good curve. It means we're gonna get a lot of opening hands where we can do stuff, be proactive early, and we're gonna, as long as we hit our resources, hint hint, play 18 resources, we're gonna be able to curve out. This deck wins by just developing right on time, or developing faster than is expected, just having a more board presence. It does generate a lot of stalls because it's just kind of big dumb troops. So cards that break those stalls and win the game are Staggering Blast, Stirring Oration, and Fire Indignation. So got one more slot. What do we want to play? Kind of want to just play more Tree Guards because it helps my allegiance and gives me a troop that doesn't cost too much, that does make an impression when it is cast, and then it's a 4 power thing for 4, which is pretty good. You can also just play 2 tricks and just hope for the best. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 troops, 2 tricks, bunch of spells. Not the end of the world. This 5-drop matters. 6 or 5 drops better, right? And we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I can see that. Over like a Snarling Ambusher. Kind of like it. So, until the health buffs, or health nerfs, some buffs, Cressida was the hero of ramp, and that champion ability just ramped for you. So you could just pick a bunch of 5-drops and go from there. You don't have to worry about wasting slots on the ramp, but 17 health is just too prohibitive. Just not enough. Whereas the new hero of ramp is Might Slinger. Her ability is create a giant sword and put it into your hand. Giganosaur is a 7/7 dinosaur. That's all it is. That's all it needs to be. Pretty awesome. Issue is it costs 7 resources. So you want to get the 7 resources. So that's what this deck was trying to do. It didn't quite get there. It's still better than 17 health, in my opinion. But anyway, that's our build. 1 second. That's our build. And thank you so much for watching. And hope you learned something. Leave comments, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Interact with the channel. It means a lot. Thanks. Bye.